We live under the absolute tyranny of the ticking gear. We have standardized the fluid, violent drift of the cosmos into predictable milliseconds, deceiving ourselves into believing we have tamed it. But your clock is a mathematical lie, a social contract designed to synchronize your labor, not your existence. The human brain does not care about Swiss engineering. Your neural architecture doesn't count seconds, it samples reality. It constructs an internal fabric of duration based on cognitive load, emotional stress, and sensory processing. And that sampling rate is terrifyingly plastic. Look at your own history. An hour spent in acute isolation or deep psychological discomfort can feel like an unyielding eternity, while an entire decade of comfortable, repetitive routine evaporates into a blank slate in your memory. You are trapped in a biological paradox where time is both an anchor and a ghost. To understand how you escape the prison of the present, we must first push the hardware to its absolute limit. We must observe what happens when the predictive patterns of the brain collapse under the weight of sheer survival. We must throw the cortex into the abyss of absolute terror. We are going deep. Let's take a quick decompression break before we overload your synapses. For your nervous system, clicking the subscribe button and leaving a like down below requires zero effort. It's pure motor routine, a negligible amount of glucose consumed. For this channel's algorithm, however, it's the critical neurochemical signal that tells us we're on the right track. So do it, and drop a comment below to give me your perspective. Take these 2 seconds to relax, because right now, we are diving deep. In 2007, neuroscientist David Eagleman set out to dismantle the mystery of time expansion. He took human subjects, stripped them of any safety rope or traditional harness, and suspended them from a 150-foot industrial tower, preparing them for a terrifying, unguided freefall backward into a net. During the brief, brutal 3-second plunge, their wristwatches, specifically engineered chronometers called the perceptual chronometer, recorded objective, real-world time. Yet, when asked to estimate their own fall retrospectively, their internal clocks had expanded by over 35%. The traditional consensus in neurology claimed that the brain simply overclocks its internal processing speed during moments of terror, like a high-speed camera capturing more frames per second. But Eagleman's data shattered this assumption, discovering a much darker cognitive architecture. The brain does not think or process information faster on the way down. The amygdala simply hijacks the memory matrix, burning sensory data at an unprecedented density. You do not live a longer moment in real time. Your cortex just forces you to remember it that way, rewriting your history. To map this cognitive battlefield, neuroscientist Domenica Bueti pushed the resolution of fMRI technology to its absolute limit. Published in the pages of PLOS Biology, her research proved that our perception of time is not a chemical cloud, but a precise spatial topography inside the supplementary motor area. This topography revealed that your brain literally organizes duration in space. Shorter stimuli activate neurons in the anterior regions, while longer intervals map onto the posterior zones. But this highly organized spatial grid suffers a catastrophic collapse when the predictive cortex falls into routine. This breakdown is the origin of the holiday paradox. A mundane, highly repetitive life forces the cortex to compress data density to save metabolic energy. When you are trapped in routine, the days feel long and endless while you live them, but they evaporate into nothingness in retrospect. Your brain does not measure mathematical duration. It calculates sensory data density. And when you strip the cortex of new inputs, your existence simply slips through the gears of the clock, leaving you with a terrifying truth. When you step out of the void, your cortex is forced to reset. Chronoception is not a passive receptor of reality. It is a manifestation of executive function. You do not manage time. You generate it through attention. Your brain is the ultimate compression algorithm. It filters out the mundane to conserve metabolic power. Every day you drive the same route, speak the same words, and perform the same mechanical tasks. The algorithm compresses that data into a single, negligible file, making your past evaporate. To expand your existence, you must become a saboteur of your own neurological routine. You must deliberately inject friction into the system. Novelty forces the prefrontal cortex to abandon its predictive models and start recording high-definition reality once again. This is the true architecture of memory. The math of the physical clock is unyielding, but the density of the biological signal belongs entirely to you. You are the architect of your own temporal dilation, and yet most choose the comfort of the compression algorithm. To reclaim your duration, you must reject the synchronization of the machine. The industrial clock demands a uniform, predictable pulse, but your cognitive survival requires the deliberate introduction of neurological noise. You must force the brain to stop predicting and start experiencing. Every new landscape you observe, every sensory friction you willingly embrace, increases the sampling rate of your amygdala. You are not physically lengthening your days. You are simply expanding the density of the memory files written into your hardware. You are reclaiming the canvas. The math of the clock is unyielding. 60 seconds will always construct a physical minute, but the density of the signal belongs entirely to you. Choose what you encode before the predictive cortex compresses your history into a blank slate. Disconnect from the grid. Take back your sampling rate, because your time is running out, and the cortex is always watching.